Welcome back to Sci-Fi and Fantasy Read Along. Hey Yule, hey DM Phil, how are y'all doing?
Fantastic.
Doing really good, ATN. Looking forward to talking about this chapter. Chapter 7, right?
Is it because it's so incredibly short?
Well, it helps.
And you're like, oh, this is going to be easy.
I don't know if that actually makes it easy to talk about it.
Well, it'll make this recording session easier because it'll be over sooner.
That definitely will happen, yeah.
But yeah, the ease of the conversation is going to be pretty much on par, I think.
I was thankful it was a short chapter.
Did it cause challenges for your comprehension or enjoyment? Or
Typical whiny stuff. Work is crushing me, and...
Yeah, okay, I'm not listening
Week from
anymore.
hell for me, too.
I'm not listening.
It was...
I don't care.
I am now the sole employer and sole employee of Fantastic Comics.
Wow.
And I'm learning everything that I didn't know.
Also the sole debtor.
I'm that too.
Well,
Yeah.
winner take all. Or loser take all, too, I guess.
That's what it is. It's loser take all.
Something he said yesterday, or like 2 weeks ago on stream. He's like, at least there's not debtor's prison anymore.
And it says here, you sold comic books. Well, yeah. I didn't know they made comic books anymore. And that's why I'm here.
It's like Fahrenheit 451 doesn't even have to come true because the next generation will just stop reading.
Well, I don't know about stop reading.
I'm sorry, they'll stop reading books.
I think this one's already stopped, man.
It's not 100% true. I mean, people are still out there
It'll
reading.
never be 100% true, man.
All right, well, that's true, too.
I had a moment of clarity while sneaking myself at the next chapter. Right, I snuck the first paragraph of the next chapter, chapter 7 or 8.
I might have snuck a few more paragraphs than that.
I want to finish the book. I'm probably going to do it tonight just because I'm tired of not knowing how it ends. But when he described the guy Miller, or whatever his name is, Campbell Jr., I want to say it's
Campbell, yeah.
That guy. When he describes that guy's his outfit with the cowboy hat with the swastikas and the boots with the swastikas and stuff, I was just kind of like flabbergasted because I have seen a cover of Mother Night that has him on the cover, and I always thought it was just this ridiculous. He's like this dude riding a dachshund, wearing cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, and carrying a Nazi flag, and there's like little swastikas all over the place, right? And I was like, what is this ridiculous book? I had no idea. It's him. It's him. That's the guy. It's that guy who's going to be in the next chapter and who we've already read about. Campbell, whatever. The American turned Nazi.
Yeah. Who hanged himself when he was going to be...
Awaiting his, whatever,
punishment.
trial.
His trial.
I guess.
It ain't going to go good for him, I don't think.
Whatever. Don't join the losing side, right? That's the...
No, don't fight people. Don't kill people that are well connected. That's what it is.
Yes. That was the Jesus problem.
Yeah. I just feel like this can be applied here too.
Well, it's like you attack Europe and England. I'm like, hey, wait, we got friends on the other side of the ocean.
Yeah, if they had stuck with Poland and France, it would have been okay. Czechoslovakia.
Certainly Russia.
Yeah, that was whatever. Next chapter is going to be fun because next chapter involves that guy. But anyway, we're here today to discuss chapter 7, which is extremely short, and we're going to probably have a really short episode in this recording because of it. I don't have a problem with that if you guys don't have a problem with it, but maybe we should get started.
Yeah.
Tally-ho.
Tally-ho.
1,
All right.
2,
I had
3.
to look up a word. What about y'all?
I did too.
Was your word gollywog?
It was indeed gollywog.
I had to. Yeah, I had no idea what that word meant. From context, I thought I understood what it meant, but looking it up did actually inform me better.
It's probably a good thing we were ignorant of that.
It's a good sign, yeah. I mean, that kind of stuff is falling out of the common culture. All right, let's begin the chapter. Yes. Do you guys remember where we left off last chapter?
You know, it's funny. I did look.
I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you this every time.
I know,
so
and that's why I looked. And I was
just
like, I know he's going to ask this, so I was ready. No, he had made it to Slaughterhouse 5.
Finally.
Slaughterhouse 5.
The American prisoners of war finally made it to Dresden. Book's 2/3 finished. All right.
Jesus.
I did a little bit of dumb math because I'm a dumb, and I don't think it was super clear. It appears that we began this chapter in about 1970. This is 25 years after the bombing of Dresden. Should have been at the end of the war. I know they've passed Christmas. I don't know if they've passed New Year's. So it might be 1969 still. But anyway, around 1970, Billy Pilgrim is boarding a plane chartered on his way to a conference full of optometrists. The plane, that is, full of optometrists. And he's seated next to his father-in-law, Lionel Merble.
Yeah, his wife is there, and she's like sending him off. Bye, honey. Have a good time.
Yeah, she's waving bye-bye.
And
Now
eating
we
a Peter
know-
Paul mound.
Now, we know because of Barbara what happens to this flight. Of course, we find out in just a second that this doomed. Everybody's going to die, basically.
He already knows. He just doesn't want to say anything because he doesn't want to be a fool.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the incident. This crash is the incident that Barbara claims it makes him the psychopath that he is later, or earlier on in the book.
A
later
reasonable
on in life.
assumption, in my opinion.
Right.
Reasonable.
Well, so Billy Pilgrim described Lionel as a machine, and he said that's the way the Tralfamadorians like view everybody or everything.
All plants and animals.
And in a way that makes sense. I mean, biomechanical machines is what we are. But it's just interesting. But now I don't know. He said most
That's
people.
That's not a foreign concept to people that read like science fiction.
Maybe
It's not a
not.
foreign concept to people who read Vonnegut, because I'm pretty sure it was in the book just previous that he spent a lot of time talking about people as machines.
Well, also I think it's kind of a compliment, for athletes or incredibly, durable people or incredible people who can just work at something without tire or without distraction.
Do you think that's the way it's being applied here?
No, I think it's strictly we're biomechanical machines.
I thought it was weird that he would mention that Lionel was a machine and then refuse to give us any context for what it means.
Well, he does it all the time in this book.
I
don't know that all the time kinds of things, like, I don't know. I don't know that that's true. Like, I thought it was weird here.
He'll definitely drop some information, maybe just introducing you to the character, and within the same sentence let you know how the person dies. But it is until like another chapter where you find out more about that person,
Right.
He goes in and kind of fills in all the details about that person. We're getting a lot of poor old Derby, all the
Edgar
time.
Derby.
It's always more
Poor
poor old
Edgar
Derby,
Derby.
It's funny because you pointed that out, ATN. You pointed out last time that it's like it's always poor Edgar Derby. And now you're right. It's every single time.
It's just how he refers to him.
Yeah, it's his full name, poor Edgar Derby. I'm going to change my spreadsheet. put his full name in there.
Well, okay, so he knows this plane is going to crash. He doesn't want to say anything because he doesn't want to be thought a fool, and he just goes about his business letting it happen. But because he knows it's going to crash, and I think there's some people singing on board and etc. There's
it's a barbershop quartet of some of the optometrists.
Right.
What are they called? Do you remember?
Febs. Yeah.
The Febs. They're the
Four-eyed bastards.
Four-eyed bastards, and they sing. It sounds like limericks or something.
Right. So hold on just a second. Let me see if I have this right. Looking back at time.
And these limericks are they're kind of like lowbrow and vulgar.
They're racist.
And not only that, Phil, but Billy's father-in-law is the one egging them on to do these. Like, he is enjoying them more than anybody.
Yeah, he's a laughing machine at this point.
A laughing machine.
Okay, so barbershop quartet doing all these songs. Billy knows they're going to crash, and so he decides to travel in time.
It sounded like that, yeah. It's like he chose to leave.
Sounds like he's gaining control of it on some level. Yeah.
I had that impression also.
But the barbershop quartet is singing about the Polacks, a Polish woman and a Polish man, and then there's this nice transition where he says, speaking of people from Poland.
I saw one hanging once.
Yeah.
or hanged, I should say.
Yeah.
He had he had sexual relations with a German woman?
I assume he was a prisoner, and he was a farm hand, and he did have sexual intercourse with a German woman, so they hung him in Dresden.
And Billy is walking by seeing this having happened because he's working in one of their little camps. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he said he saw it accidentally.
I accidentally saw it.
I don't want to see that either. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. He does that at another time. I think I might remember it. But saying you accidentally saw something.
All right, so he travels back in time, and he's saying, "Go on without me, you guys." And Roland Weary is bonking his head against a tree. But that's a very brief jaunt. And then I think we're in the plane crash. And
just about, yeah. Or yeah, we are actually.
Billy Pilgrim and the co-pilot of that plane are the sole survivors.
Yeah, everybody else dies.
So it goes. All right, so we're moving on to the Austrian ski instructors. Yes.
These are the people that came upon the wreckage? Is that what it was?
Yes. That's exactly right.
Kurt Vonnegut doesn't shy away talking like the people do or explaining the way the people of the day saw things. So if he's calling a homosexual a fairy...
That was common parlance for the day.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily like Vonnegut or the narrator is caring to say those words. He's, it's the word, like you said, the word that was used. So he talks about these people in ski masks coming to rescue him, and they have black ski masks, and he says they look like gollywogs. And
they have black ski masks with a red pom-pom on the top of the head.
Sure. It's cold out.
What's a gollywog, actually?
It's a doll. This is crazy. Okay, so the woman that created the gollywog was like a little girl, and she had a black doll that was probably, not racially sensitive either.
It's a caricature.
Well, the portrayal of gollywogs that I've seen in my scan search was a little frightening, a little disturbing.
They are strange looking.
It was monstrous blackface is what it was.
Uh-huh. So he was likening these Austrian ski instructors as gollywogs because he had a traumatic head injury and he mistook them for such. So obviously he knew what they were in his own life, whatever he thought about it. And that's what they looked like to him. And they yodel themselves down the hill on a toboggan, him down, skiing, etc. Get him all the way down to the bottom, and he sees all of these people in like bright colors and tight clothes, and he says that they're bombed out of their minds on snow, and he thinks it's a strange new phase of World War II.
Yeah, that's where he thinks he is right now.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
Well, they're speaking German to him. The people that are rescuing him are speaking German, so it would be, and plus he has a bad head injury, so I mean that all that stuff makes good sense to me.
It's just the time travel aspect of it. He's still affected by the morphine in the last chapter. In this chapter, he's affected by a head injury, even though he knew he was going to crash just a few minutes prior, and he went to World War II. Now he thinks he's in World War II, and he's not.
Right.
But he still tells him where his address is.
Yeah, he whispers it to them, and they think it's like his dying breath. But he survives. I believe he has surgery for a couple of hours. Like some famous dude from Boston flies up, and a couple of hours of surgery, and then he's unconscious for a few days, and he has millions of dreams, some of which are true. And the ones that are true are all about time travel. So his daughter thinks that he's... Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, I would think so, too. If he had come out... He sounds crazy. He does sound crazy. He sounds like a crazy person.
Well, it took for a while for him to, start telling people about it, right?
Yes, it did.
I mean, it wasn't... Now, he's already traveled with Tralfamadorians, right? Well, that was before the crash, right?
It depends on what you believe. According to him, yeah, he got his daughter's wedding day.
Right. And she's already married.
At the age of
when
21
the
or
crash
whatever.
happens, right?
Yeah.
I think. But the thing is that the Tralfamadorians aren't really the deal. The deal is his time traveling, right? Which
They're
is something
separate.
he did long before.
They're separate. You know, let's figure that out real quick because I'm not sure about that. He would be 46 when his daughter is saying that she's going to put him in a home.
Yes.
We think we're in about 1970 right now. He would have been like 19 or 20 entering the war. So he'd be like 45 right now. So it didn't take long. I don't know if his daughter got married before or after his wife died.
I don't know either.
So it's going to be a close thing,
Don't
one way
look.
or the other. All right, so one of the things that is true was a time travel event where Billy, poor old Edgar Derby, and their personal guard named Werner Gluck are pushing a cart trying to find the kitchen so they can get the food to feed the prisoners. And they're lost. And poor Werner, he's never been there. Nobody knows where they're going. The city's blacked out, so they're having a hard time finding where they're going. And they think they found the kitchens. They throw open the door.
And it's a bunch of naked ladies, right?
Girls. Refugees from another German city which had recently been bombed to oblivion.
Okay, so one of the reasons why they're lost, you said, is because it's dark and they don't know where they're going.
Right.
And there's a nice little moment in the book where he's talking about the most beautiful thing you can see is when, as the sun goes down, you can see all the lights of the different houses start blinking on. And the reason why they're not turning on their lights is because they don't want to get bombed at night.
Yeah.
Even though this was supposed to be an area that was probably going to be like off limits anyway, right?
I have heard that it was common practice everywhere.
Yeah.
Just to keep the lights off for that reason. Like the British did it, and anybody that was potentially going to be bombed did it.
Well, that's one of the luxuries we've had in America.
Of never having been bombed?
Well, not having to worry about the constant threat of it. How's that? Werner Gluck, he has he describes his saber that he's carrying.
No, it's his rifle.
His rifle, I mean.
And his bayonet.
Well, so
And his bayonet.
Yeah, go ahead. I thought that was cool. Go ahead.
You know the line I'm talking about, where he says that it had no blood gutters.
Oh, that
What
was
does that mean?
That was his
Well,
bayonet.
that's in reference to Roland Weary, who was
Yes.
introduced him to all the torture weapons and everything.
Well, it seems.
And one of the what was that?
You know, it just seems yet another random and irrelevant.
I think
description.
it's not random. I think it's not irrelevant. I think I could tell you what that means.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, he doesn't have a war rifle. He's got this musket. I guess he's a black powder musket, smooth bore. I don't even know if he has bullets for that, but that's what he's got. And he said it's this horribly heavy thing, and he's affixed a bayonet to it. So I guess it's really more of a spear, a hollow spear, than it is a gun. But that's all they had.
He's also Billy Pilgrim's distant cousin.
He mentioned that, and I thought that was interesting that he made that connection. Well, I'm sorry, smallpox is my distant cousin. I mean, what does he mean by that?
Do you think it's possible that maybe neither one of them were really well equipped for war?
I think it's fair to say.
The blood gutter. I was thinking about this today because Yule asked us about it when we originally had encountered the blood gutter. Like, do you know what it is? And I'm like, yes, I mean, I know what it is. I don't know what it's for. I looked it up today, and I spent some time thinking about it, and it occurred to me that Roland Weary was one of those people who glorified war. And now this kid, Gluck, Werner Gluck, he has a bayonet that doesn't have any blood gutters, which means... okay, so do you know what they're even made for? They're literally made to strengthen and lighten a weapon. That's their sole purpose, right? They're not to make blood do anything or make tomatoes fall off of blades. None of that stuff. That's the purpose. So I read that they're done basically for decoration now.
Yeah.
So if you're decorating a blade, which Roland Weary's blade was obviously ostentatiously decorated, right, in a brutal way. So perhaps he's the type that glorifies war, and here we have two guys who are distant cousins, maybe not literally, but maybe they're just two people who are ill-equipped for war.
Well,
Literally.
the cook lady called them out as such. Do you remember that little speech?
Yeah, she says she's talking about how pathetic they look. Is that what it is? And
the boy's too young, Derby's too old.
That's what it is, yeah.
And she's like, "And what are you supposed to be?" And he's like, "I'm just trying to stay warm."
And then she says, like, all the real soldiers are dead.
So it goes.
all the men, all the fighters, they're dead. That makes sense, though.
Okay, so the second thing that was true regarding time travel for Billy Pilgrim is the work that they were doing in Dresden, washing windows, doing stuff like that. I think largely it has to do with the syrup factory.
Yeah, right? It is mostly just the syrup factory. I guess it's like vitaminized syrup so that pregnant women can get, their daily dosage.
Fortified.
But it's not even really that fortified, right?
It must be. It must be. It's like our milk and our bread.
It's fortified enough.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds to me like it's just sugar and vitamins. But I think it's kind of cool that they prioritize, expecting mothers for energy and nutrients. And they said that was not for anybody else to consume.
It's illegal.
And yet there's spoons. There's spoons
Again,
everywhere.
We're talking about spooning in this book.
Oh, that's a good point.
All the time. Usually it's when people are coupling with each other or cuddling because it's so cold.
Yeah.
Or you have no other room. But even Valencia and Billy have spooned. And now he's spooning syrup, and it's illegal to do that.
Everybody does it, though. There's
Everybody
spoons
does
everywhere. There's spoons
and since Billy's
everywhere.
Cleaning, there's spoons everywhere. And he finally, like, everybody spoons on the first day. Everybody. But
Not Billy.
Billy waited a second day.
You got to point out that, yes, there's spoons everywhere, but they're always hidden.
They're hidden because someone's coming.
It's a crime. It's a crime. And
yeah,
just think, they hung the Polish guy for having sex. They shoot Edgar Derby for finding a teapot. Who knows what they'll do to you for stealing the syrup, right?
Don't rat or I guess you'd be ratting everybody out.
I thought this part was amazing. I laughed out loud.
Well, how it ends, the very last part.
With Edgar Derby crying?
Well, I didn't get why he cried, but no, even before that. No.
When Billy Pilgrim takes the spoon and puts it in his mouth, his body, like...
You got to read it.
Okay, read it.
You got to read it, man. It says...
read it.
He took a spoonful and put it in his mouth, and it said, "A moment went by, and then every cell in Billy's body shook him with ravenous gratitude and applause." I thought that was just so good. It's like he's had nothing to eat. He's starving to death. And then he gets this pure energy with vitamins and minerals, and it's just unbelievable.
So Derby's like washing the windows outside, and he sees Billy do this.
It's great.
Billy already knew that he was the only one that was watching him.
Bang, 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 bang.
And he goes and and the thing is that Billy, when you spoon it, you just spoon it up, and he calls it a lollipop. So I'm imagining this is a big old glop of syrup on this thing.
It's like tar or something.
Yeah, exactly. And so he takes over the window, opens the window, and just shoves it in Derby's mouth, and Derby cries.
It's beautiful.
It's
absolutely
great.
Beautiful. And then he hides the spoon because someone was coming.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the end.
That's the end of the chapter. So good.
Strange chapter, a little bit.
What do you think that means about spoons, man?
I'm going to accuse you of writing more into it than is necessary.
No, reading more into it.
Well, writing. Yes.
I'll give it some thought. Like as we go forward, I'll give it some thought. Like I hadn't even noticed it. But whatever, I'll give it. It's like there's the mention of the other candy bar too. It's yet another candy bar.
What was it? A Paul?
It was
Mary
a Peter
Mounds?
Paul Mounds.
Peter Paul Mounds.
Peter Paul Mound bar.
Yeah, even Mounds.
Not even Mounds. Yeah.
I'm not into coconuts, so I've never eaten those that much.
My favorite line of this chapter is bombed out of their minds with snow.
I don't know what that really means.
That is true. That is like when you go to a ski resort, like when you go skiing, there are people there who are just so happy to be there. They're bombed out of their minds with snow.
All right.
It's like being drunk, but you're snowed. I don't know. It's amazing. I love going skiing personally. Short chapter. Some interesting things occurring in there, but for the most part, like, I don't know.
Once again, there's 2 chapters in a row. I didn't glean any sort of significance, importance, or relevance or connectivity to this chapter. I mean, there's brief flashes of an ongoing storyline, but he's flashing back and forth, and I wouldn't say it's not really difficult to follow. It's just
I don't think so either.
No, I don't think it's difficult to follow because I'm now I can keep track of what's going on because there's already a template of where he is in time, and you've kind of got his overarching concept of what his life story is already.
Do you think he's filling in the gaps?
I in a way, yeah. I think it's exactly what he's doing.
So he's telling a story, a fairly traditional story, in fact, but he's telling it out of order.
Kind of like the Tralfamadorian books, which is all at once.
Yeah. Hard for us to do without reading, straight through 6 hours, 8 hours.
Well, and it says the Tralfamadorians can see the fourth dimension, right? Or they exist in the fourth dimension. And when they explain their books, it's not really possible to explain that to us because we can't visualize it. Kind of like, if an eighth dimensional being tried to explain to us what his...
Just 3 to 2. 3 to 2. Yep,
exactly. Precisely. Even one dimension higher, we lose perspective and concept. And maybe some people can imagine it, but I'd say overwhelming.
Did you ever read Flatland?
No, but I think you told me that story. And because of the way you described it, we can only perceive it because we're in the third dimension. And a third dimensional being can perceive a two-dimensional universe very easily, but the reverse does not work. A two-dimensional being cannot...
A truly two-dimensional anything would be invisible to us.
Well, okay. Well, would it?
Yeah, because it's only 2 dimensions. There is no third.
No.
Right? So it has no thickness.
Yes, I comprehend. But it's all about perspective. And so if we're above it, we see it all. Right? But they can't perceive us 3-dimensionally.
I don't know, man. Until we find something that's truly 2-dimensional, I don't think we're going to be able to do anything but argue.
Okay. Well...
A line that I really enjoyed was when they were discussing the Germans, and it says the German refugees from Breslau, which had been tremendously bombed.
Right.
So kind of like you're saying, bombed out of their minds with snow, but I'm saying tremendously bombed, and I really know that, or the thing that gets me when I'm reading something and I'm trying to I don't know if it's necessarily examined, but it's examining how words work with each other. And I don't know if necessarily tremendously is something I'm thinking when I'm thinking of something being bombed also. I like saying awesome for things that aren't
or terrible.
Pleasurable. Yeah, exactly. And kind of things like that sometimes. That's my coping mechanism, trying to come up with a big word to describe it, but it isn't what normally people use to attribute something like that.
Sure.
You'd say horribly bombed if you want to be pretty, a simple word to use. That would be something that you would work with. But tremendously, it's like, wow, how was the circus? It was tremendous. I saw elephants and had popcorn and cotton candy.
You wouldn't say that it was awful.
I wouldn't say it was awful.
Even though it might have been full of awe.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. It was awful. I loved it.
He's good that way. I think he puts things together in a way that's interesting. He's not writing cliche after cliche after cliche, because you can do that. You can write a novel that's just explained to your reader with the same words that they're expecting and that they've seen a million times, and he doesn't do that. So
yeah, it is a joy. But what I was trying to say earlier about
he's like, it is a joy,
so
but
sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't
realize I cut you off.
No, and it wasn't you. Technically, it was Etienne.
Oh, good.
And then we moved on. But no, I was trying to say that I think he's trying to write this novel as if it was a Tralfamadorian perspective, which is all snippets of his life at one time. But he can't write everything at once, so he just skips all around. Does that make sense?
And we can't perceive everything at once either.
Yes.
I think we talked about it in an earlier episode. So yeah, I think that's a good examination of it for sure.
Well, I'm a four-dimensional being.
Okay, so we're going to get back to reading. We're going to pick up with chapter 8, which I've already taken a sneak peek at, and hilarious.
This Campbell guy is quite the guy.
Yeah, what a ding-dong, right?
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for joining us. Thank you guys for joining me. We will see you guys in about 9 days.
Yay!
Goodbye.